Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Hey everybody, how are you today? This is the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. Now, I have a really special guest for you today. I have someone that goes back with me a long way. His name is Mr. Billy Helton. I'd like you guys to welcome, as I am about to do. Hey, how you doing, Billy?
Good. How about yourself? Thanks for having me.
I'm living the dream, man. You know, I was really excited when I saw that, you know, you took this path that is so different from how we, you know, when we were kids, how we came up. And it's a very different mindset from the, you know, people that we came up with. So can you tell me a little bit about what you do first, and then I'll move on from there?
Well, I like to consider myself a professional storyteller, i.e. life coach for the mind, body, nutrition. And what I try to do overall is try to tell a story when somebody is dealing with either a chronic or acute challenges, health challenges, that is, and try to figure out how it's taking place from an emotional state. Because I feel, and that's my own opinion, that we have these unwelcome challenges through an emotional state. And the body is the last thing that it reaches to try to get our attention on a subconscious level.
And how did how did you come across that? I mean, you know, a lot of people don't even realize the mind-body connection at all throughout their life. And, you know, you've figured it out that there is more than just, you know, circumstances and helping people deal with it. How did that come about?
Well, I got to the point in my life that it seems like I've done a lot of different things from the material world. And once you got to the age of 32 like me, and you figure that it isn't about external things. And I realized it was external things that actually kept me away from internally speaking with myself. So with that, I realized I had a profound moment, and I said, this can't be it. And then all of a sudden, the first book that I got opened my eyes and put me on a journey, and that book was Brian Weiss, W-E-I-S-S, who was a psychiatrist, and who wrote the book, Many Lives, Many Masters. Now, in that book, he goes through this lady by the name of Catherine. And he, at the time of him doing it, was an actual atheist himself, until he had this profound moment where he put this lady under hypnosis, and she went back 92 lives.
So she had so they had a past life regression.
And it wasn't meant for that. What he actually said was, let's go back to the moment where she was having these issues. And he didn't say back to childhood. So what it did, it took her back through the life when she was in the Roman era. And then all of a sudden, the things that happened after that, I don't want to give too much away, but the bottom line was, I said, wait a minute, this is all mental. Here is somebody under hypnosis and is traveling through another time. I mean, literally to the point of your consciousness is taking you there, going, telling you a story down to the exact detail. Now, mind you, after that, I was blown away and I had to go on and on. So I went and I trained under Dolores Cannon, who worked for the government for 25 years doing UFO abduction cases. And I learned under her. Now, when I went under her and learned her hypnosis and realized that this woman could put somebody under hypnosis and literally take somebody who was challenged with any type of, whether it's mental or physical, and if their subconscious let them, they would be able to heal. Now that blew me away, because I'm like, how can it be that you can manipulate the physical matter? And not realizing is because it came from thought anyway. So when you put these together, that's where everything comes out of. At first is energy, Muckles, then it all of a sudden comes to a dense formation, creating this thing we call matter. And that abnormal cell, my friend, can go back to a normal cell. So the people that are struggling, I don't care if it's 4th stage cancer, I am telling you it can go back to its normal state.
So you've witnessed this yourself, correct?
Oh, time and time again. It's a beautiful thing. And all it comes down to is nobody heals anybody. What happens is under hypnosis, you're allowing your body and your own subconscious state to take this on. And when you open up the doors and you allow this gift of healing, which is in all of us, and trust me, there's so much data out there now, I can sit here literally for a whole year and give you data to the point where you see all the spontaneous or radical remissions and everything else, that to the point that you would become bored by it. But then maybe not, because it's so fascinating to see these people heal themselves. Now, people such as myself and others who have the great opportunity to witness, we are just allowing the self-empowerment to get back into the individual. That's it. They have so much negative beliefs about themselves grown up from childhood or in adulthood to the point that they're not allowing themselves to become in harmony with the mind, body, and spirit. And until you do, you are not going to heal.
Hey, let me ask you a question, because, the first thing that I saw about you, or what came across, was, you were into nutrition. And what is the connection between, that you have found between nutrition and the mind-body connection?
Excellent question. Now, nutrition is almost as a placebo. Okay. Now, this is probably going to be hard for a lot of your listeners to really understand this. But when we're dealing with the physical world, everything out there is an expression of what's happening inside. So when I talk with somebody and we start talking nutrition, I can let them know what the body would do from a biological standpoint as far as their endocrine glands and their hormones and so forth. But here's the number one thing. It's the intent that you give the food. So even if you had a haphazard diet, right, but you had a great attitude and you loved life and you had a purpose, which is a key word. If you had a purpose, you can trump a lot of these things that are going around, from EMFs, all these carcinogens and everything like that. Because if that wasn't the case, we would all be dead right now. So why is the next person who we're so dear to are struggling with some kind of chronic diseases and we're not? And we so happen to maybe be in the same household. It's because everybody's intent is different. Their belief systems are different. And once you understand it, even from a nutritional standpoint, because I can tell you, I've dealt with sick people who had a perfect diet, but they had a sick mind. And if they have a sick mind, I am telling you, it doesn't matter what you eat, how much you fast, it's not going to happen. You're not going to heal.
So even with that, so if someone who is not spiritually whole, basically, if they are not calm, if they are not centered, if their chakras are not correct, if you have some imbalance in there, that's where the physical discourse can manifest in someone's life?
Absolutely. And that's what's happening when you're not aligned. Now, somebody don't have to sit back and try to think about chakras and, who doesn't understand it. All they have to be is show a path of forgiveness and unconditional love. And that alone will actually do the back work to align the chakras, because it's energy. We look at these 7 points in the body as being, the focal point. But really, overall, they're just there to tell us about, how they're tied to the organs and so forth, depending on the belief and the challenge itself, because it's all interconnected. It's all interconnected. But they don't have to understand chakras. If they love and they forgive and totally forgive, and not be one of those I forgive, but I can't forget, because it won't work either.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that in my life. So basically what you're saying here too is that a lot of us have been practicing, particularly towards food. And I'm going to focus in on food because you just said something that, when we give that prayer to our dinner plate, when we say bless this and let it nourish us, that's actually the act that you should be invoking when you sit down at a meal.
Absolutely. If you can go ahead and bless your food, you can literally molecular change the food content itself to make it more absorbable to the body. Because what's happening when you give a prayer, and I'm not just saying doing it out of cookie cutter and just saying it to say it, but when you intently put it there and you bless it, and let's say you do the Lord's Prayer. Well, in the Lord's Prayer themselves, and a lot of people don't know this, but the Lord's Prayer is actually opening up all the chakras.
Now,
and once you do that, oh, go ahead.
No, that one got me. You got to explain that one.
Yeah. Yes, and what happens is, in the Lord's Prayer, on the top, and I wish I actually had the list here, because right now I'm walking around here because my energy is so high speaking to you, and I can't even sit still. and what happens with the Lord's Prayer is actually it's opening. It's opening the chakras, and it's allowing the body to flow, and it's allowing the nutrients themselves to be able to be absorbed. Because if you know, there's a lot of unbelievable feats out there in the world today that people can do. You're looking at people who can literally inject bacteria into their bodies and not become sick, because they don't become the body. They became a individual observing a body that is not their own. And see, and that's how it works. You're looking at a personality construct, and then you're looking at the pure, true essence of who you are, the soul. And then together, they're supposed to bond and then have this experience in this reality together and actually be purposeful and filled with love. And when you bypass that and you egotistically do what you think you need to do, well, guess what? We start having challenges. And that's when you know you're not in accordance to what you're supposed to be doing, because the body is speaking the reason.
So as we age, a lot of times people tend to lose energy. So what would you say to people who have been on this earth for a while? They're just doing their grind, doing their thing, and they just saying, I just need some more energy. How can they get back to that?
Well, getting back to energy, one, they need to start focusing on what's important to them. So as they get older, they should worry less on the materialistic things, because usually that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
When we're young, we start worrying about challenging one another, and the adults, we're trying to be competitive with workplace. Third, we're trying to get relationships, trying to find a love match. And then toward the end, we're supposed to be the spiritual person, right?
Yeah.
Well, this time and age, it's not allowing it. People are battling finances because they're stressed out over so many things. When you look out right now, the family unit has broken up big time. That's all a struggle. So when I sit down and I speak with somebody and we're talking together, I can already see why their energies are there, because their life is leaving. They're almost saying, I'm ready to leave this reality right now. It's just, I'm tired of getting up, doing the same thing. I'm tired of the relationship that I'm in. I deserve better, right? My job is terrible. I don't even love going there. Listen, you're looking at the allopathic community. The doctors are they're putting up hospitals left and right.
So,
this is a time that people are not looking spiritually.
When people come across this situation, and it's not just happening with people who have been here 40, 50, 60 years. It's happening with young people too, in their 20s and late 30s, that, through their 30s, and it seems like nobody can find their direct purpose in life. What is it that this community should do that you could, or some practices that you can put into place so that people can get back to their center?
You know what? It is simple as this, but yet it is so hard. Everyone you talk to, and I would even ask you, if I sat there and I said, what is your purpose? What do you love to do? What is your passion? What makes you say, man, I just want to be able to do this?
Oh, I know
and
what that is.
And a lot of people don't know it.
I know what mine is.
Yeah, well, see, I mean, and that's good, because I am telling you, a lot of times when you ask somebody, even if they say, I don't want this job no more, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, and I say, well, what do you want to do? And they go, well, I don't know, I just want to be happy. I go, no, you don't. You're not even trying to find. They become so robotic that they're just going ahead and listening to the next man's beliefs. So they don't know what they want to do, but yet they don't like what they're doing, right? So they first and foremost got to figure out what they love to do. I mean, you got to get to know you. Nobody knows themselves no more. They do not. And they don't even love themselves. I can look at a relationship. The relationship tells me a story, because I consider myself a professional storyteller first. And that's what people always go, what? What are you? You know, when you see Mind, Body, Nutrition, that is the title per se, but at the same time, I tell a story of what I can see and then the direction. Now, you don't have to believe it. I'm not trying to be, you know, a fact upon it, but at the same time, I'm saying, look at these stories I'm about to tell you, and you tell me if they relate to you. Because then also I can put an ending to the story and to see if you like what you hear or see. And that's what's happening. They got to find their purpose first. Once they start finding their purpose, what happens? They start getting excited. You know why? Because now they have something to wake up to. When somebody starts losing their purpose, I mean, this is why we even get to dementia and Alzheimer's. The individual starts losing purpose, and they're actually putting one foot in the spirit world and one foot in this reality. So they're trying to get out of this world because they're losing purpose.
Yeah, I can believe that.
All times, yeah, and this is what's happening. They're losing their lust. We are here to experience. We are here to have fun. We are here to love life. Now, I can tell you this: 32 years in my life, I didn't do that because I was with the status quo. I was in line like everybody else, scratching my head going, what's this? What's that? Oh, you're just supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. No. Then you get caught up with so much stuff and you're like, this can't be it. This can't be about life. Going to work, getting a job, come home, raising a family, doing all these things. And those are beautiful things, don't mind me. I'm telling you. But at the same time, there's got to be much more to that, too. You can have a great family. You can have a blast. You can have purpose. You can love going to work, right? Because when you are like that, you can go ahead and do things that may even be carcinogen to somebody else who is of low frequency, because guess what? They're depressed. And when they're depressed, their energy levels in their body goes down, and the pathogens in their body wake up and says, let's have a feast because we got this gentleman or this lady in a fight or flight mode, which means their immune system is totally shut off to the world. And now they're preparing for a fight or flight. And now the inside of the body remains acidic, which is just a breeding ground for chronic diseases.
Let me ask you
the story tells itself.
Let me ask you about water. Because that's the foundation of our physical being is, we're mostly water. And you remember when we were kids, when we were teenagers, we used to hang out all day, go play basketball. And then we'd find a water hose somewhere and just, gulp it down. Nowadays, if it's not bottled water, you don't see anyone, nobody's like, ew, why would they do that? How do we get back to this foundation of adding the things to our body and our mind, specifically our body, so that we can maintain this integral level of health?
Well, I can tell you, water is very important, and I study water too, because what I'm always trying to do, I'm trying to do things and help people that isn't going to cost them thousands and thousands of dollars, because guess what? When it starts doing that, people don't want to do it. Now, I'm working with Jim Dooley over at Crystal Blue, and he's at crystalblueent.com, and his water structuring units over there. What it's doing is the water today is filled with chlorine and fluorine. Now, these are very damaging. Now, mind you, too, again, I don't want to get so in the shadows of all this stuff, but I will say this. If you keep a positive mindset and you really have purpose, you can trunk these little things. But when you actually are down and out and you're not feeling well, guess what? Bad water can end up start waking up. Because anything that you see outside of yourself that people want to blame, the carbon dioxide, they want to blame asbestos, all these things on something that ended up getting them sick. But what got them sick is their thought process, their intent, their unforgiving self. They're holding on to grudges. They're resenting. They're showing envy, jealous. And once you do that, it doesn't matter what kind of water. I mean, I used to be really hardcore into watching every single thing I did. I mean, I was kind of a fanatic. And then I realized once I started researching people who were living to 100 years old, how their attitudes were, right? All these different things. And I'm like, man, you can drive yourself crazy when someone says you got to do this many ounces of water a day, your body weight, you got to have this much protein. You can't have this, you can't have that. I mean, that alone will put fear in someone's body.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm telling you, I was there before. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's out of control.
Yeah, if you ever have those moments, and today's culture is very big into being gym rats. If you ever have a gym rat, period in your life, you go through all those things where you're watching every little thing that you do. And sometimes, and I've seen this myself, people do everything right and they have almost no gains, or they have very minuscule gains. And you'll see somebody who just comes in and is not really dependent on body type. It's their attitude. You're right. And they just make the most massive, incredible gains. But what you're saying is that this is available to all of us if we increase the vibration of our thoughts, which means go more positive, and give good intention to all those things around us. Now, this is pretty cool because I actually say this at the end of my podcast, that all the things that you are iterating are exactly what's in alignment. And it's funny because we've known each other for 25, 30 years now. And we're just coming into synchronicity with this whole topic.
Yeah. I mean, it's a phenomenal topic because nobody seems to know this. When you look out there, sometimes you feel alone. And then when you start breaking out these ideas and these people are going, and not that they shouldn't go to medical doctors, I'm not saying that. But when you walk in there, and you see that they're only going ahead and practicing medicine, constantly giving you scripts out, trying to say, oh, you had that kind of an accident, let's go ahead and put you half of that. And I understand the allopathic community doesn't know any better because they were taught that way, and that's fine. We just have to finally start taking self-empowerment to ourselves. We have to start taking our lives, just not allow. Why do we go to somebody and say, what's wrong with me? I mean, that alone is crazy when you think about it. And then you're looking at a guy who don't really know you and says, and then they go to the physician's desk reference in the back and they check out the statistics, and then all of a sudden one of your symptoms is going to fall in one of these brackets, trust me, with their commercials with 3 minutes just on the side effects. You're going to fall under one of those. And then all of a sudden, when you're labeled, guess what? Now all of a sudden you're labeled for life, because now that's an excuse. No, my doctor said I have this, so I have to take this. No, I can't get off this. I have to take this. I know it makes me feel like this. I don't have energy. I get headaches. I do this. I do that. No, I have to be on it. They're brainwashed to the point that they lost control of themselves. And when you try to at least give them data to read and to look and say, all I'm saying is think about it. That's all. I'm not telling you to do anything, but just logically think about it, because all these messages from the body are telling you something. We are not meant to be sick like this. we're not. And then when we are fighting such challenges, it's just telling us, hey, it's knocking on us. Hey, let me just tell you something. You're doing something wrong. Think about it. And then stop it. Don't get scared, because once you get fearful like that and you go to the doctors and all of a sudden they find a little tumor when an actual tumor is there to save your life, and people think, oh my God, it's over. No, your body is so miraculous. It's setting up you for a stage of recovery. But we get scared and we start listening to them. And all of a sudden we're taking chemo. Our life is just messed up. And then we try to tell our loved ones who are so scared they don't want to listen to anything. And then you just watch your loved one die in front of you by listening to these guys. Oh, we have a new experiment that we want to do with you guys, as far as like some new, and that's how I hear all the time when I talk to these people. They have some new dose that they're messing with and they want to try it on you, and, you know, and they're giving this false hope to these people.
Hey,
it's depressing. I'm telling you when I get on that side.
When you began on this path, did you envision yourself as having an establishment where people can come to and visit you and be a part of a healing process? Because I see that you have the MBN Fitness Studio, and that's M as in Mary, B as in boy, N as in Nancy.
Yep.
Fitness Studio.
Mind, Body, Nutrition.
Mind, Body, Nutrition. There you go. Located in Taylor, Michigan.
Yes, yes.
So when you got on the path, did you envision seeing, you know, having this establishment where people could come and experience the things that you have learned over the years?
No, it didn't even, it would never register me 10 years, 15 years ago when I started this journey. And when I started learning and learning and learning, you get so excited about this because you realize that, let me say this, when you're a child before the age of 5, for a majority, I believe, life is magical, right?
Yeah.
Literally before the age of 6 and 7, you actually have an opportunity to have a foot still in the spirit world. That's why kids have invisible friends that really parents say, no, there's nobody there. There is probably someone there, and they're having friends. Now what's happening is all of a sudden we're in the love state. We listen to everybody. We hug everybody. We kiss anybody, right?
Yep.
We do all these unconditional loves, and it's love at the purest form. Now, all of a sudden, we get into the schoolyard. We start hearing things, right? And then we all of a sudden are dealt with some of us that are struggling with parents who maybe aren't so kind, or we hear things out loud, and then we wonder why. Why do they fight? Why aren't they loving each other? And next thing you know, we start getting these personality constructs as a savior, not to see the pain. So why do you think even cases of bipolar and, you know, a lot of people can't remember childhoods because they literally block them out. And then when you start doing that, you lose the magic of life. I lost magic to life. I was so disappointed. It's almost like when you find out there is no Santa Claus. You find out that all these things that as a kid you were so excited about. And then all of a sudden when you get older, and I found the magic again, because I couldn't believe that at age 32, I knew intuitively that this life has to be magical still, and how you can manipulate the body to do what you want to do, and how this virtual reality that you and I are in right now can be manipulated, that we can make it ours. Your story right now is literally, there's 7 billion different pair of eyes that are just putting a different opinion from a different angle from you, because we are all one if we want to get into the Eastern philosophy. We truly are. And it just looks like we are individuals. We are definitely individual drops in an ocean of water.
Yeah.
So our ego.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And our ego makes it look like we are separate, but we're all one. But we have to experience this. I mean, this is the whole experience. If I'm sitting down here talking to you, I'm truly talking to myself. So you and I are having a conversation. So when you start having situations and your ego starts telling you different things, well, guess what? We are all suffering. We are all suffering. I mean, you can go ahead and drive off in a Ferrari and think that life is treating you good, but we're all suffering. I mean, because at the end of the day, a lot of those people can't go home and feel good because they're empty. There's a lot of poor people who are filled with life and love and unconditional love that are happy, content, and they will live a long, prosperous life.
You know, I've actually seen that, and I've traveled the world a bit, and what really began to get me was the fact that there are people in this world who don't have the material possessions that and level of comfort that Americans experience, but they seem far more happier. That's because they have their community, they have their sense of self, and they have a purpose. And it doesn't mean that they are, you know, a lawyer, doctor, or, you know, the most popular person in the world, but they have that level of happiness that just is instilled, and you can see it. It's almost like a glow.
Oh, absolutely. And see, when you can start taking away titles and you take an individual and you just allow them to surround themselves with people and they're not consumed by, I have to have letters after my name. You know, what am I driving? Where am I going? Because right off the rip, no matter where you go, if someone pulls up and they're going to a dinner, they're going, oh man, I don't want to show up in this car. All of a sudden, the insecurities start coming out, all these different things. And you're like, what are you doing? And I've seen wealthy men pull up in the most beaters, and they almost love the fact that nobody bothers them. Yeah. And they're content, they're happy, and they're saying, why do I need a new car when this one is perfect? It's got 200,000 miles and it's still running great. Why would I go spend money to show off for the neighbor? There's no reason for it.
You know, I'm going to tell you a story that my wife and I experienced, or I experienced for the first time. I was in Europe. I said on my bucket list, I was like, I've never been to a nude beach. She was like, I'll take you to one. So here was the first thing that hit me after, you know, my initial shock of like not having any clothes on was the fact that I couldn't judge anybody. I didn't know who was a doctor. I didn't know who was rich. I didn't know who was poor. There could have been, it takes away all the covers that humans make for themselves. Once you remove them, we all become on a very even plane.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what happens when you do that? You can actually start relating. Your frequency level gets high, your vibration to the point that conversations are better. Everything is better. Life is better. Food tastes better. Because when your awareness comes in and you're only in that present state and you're not focused off yesterday's or tomorrow's, I mean, let me tell you what, that present state is the power of now, right? When you want to speak about now so much, because that's all we have. We have these moments, and we'll only have moments. You know, so why can't we have that moment and just be full aware of what's going on and just
that made me think of Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, and where he states much of what you're saying as well. But we are toward the end of the time allotted of about 30 minutes. We're a little bit over that, but that's all right because you dropped some science on us. So let's tell everybody how they can reach you, how they can contact you. And I have one last question. When is the workbook coming out? Because you need to come out with it.
I know. You know, a lot of people have been telling me about that, and I have to get down and get me in my space because it's hard for me to get down in my space and to be alone. There's so much that I'm doing here. I also have two other businesses that I'm running, but I said 2017 was I'm going to sit down and start writing my books and then show how we can synchronize all three of these and really be unified and be happy. So I'm hoping this year, well, it's going to happen. Let's just say that by mid-2017, I want to have half of it done.
Well, good deal. How can everybody find you?
Oh, you can reach me. You can go actually my Facebook page, which is Mind Body Nutrition, or you can reach me on my business phone at 734-225-7700. on my website right now, I actually took it down and reformatting it all because I'm adding so much more there. Usually you could get me at nbncoach.com. But right now you can just go to my Facebook, which is Mind, Body, Nutrition Coach.
So that's Facebook.
And I have all my details there.
Yep. That's Facebook at Facebook/Mind, Body, Nutrition Coach. Correct?
Yep. Yeah. It's just, I got a Facebook page. So it's a Mind, Body, Nutrition Coach. Once you put that in, the query, you'll see me right up there. And I'm constantly writing things on there, everything under Mind, Body, Nutrition. I can get esoteric because I also do a lot of grieving for those, because I really do a lot of work on the other side. And that could be probably a whole nother show where I help those who, one, has crossed over, and I just show them how to handle and what's going on in terms of the life over there, and that it's not final. It's just it's a transitioning and just a reconfiguration of our energy. That's it. And there's nothing else lost but the elements of the body. That's it.
Well, this is awesome, my man, because, you know, you and I know each other from a very long time ago, and we were very different human beings at the time. And we've made this transition and this intent to be who we were supposed to be. So with that, Billy, I'm going to thank you for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast, where you can find it on iTunes and Stitcher and emmettmuckles.com. Thanks, Billy, for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Take care, buddy.
All right.